Welcome to Totally Clutch, the Clutch Businesses podcast and blog. I'm Angie Beeman with Clutch Businesses, and today we're going to be talking about how business or how running a business is going to get easier in the future. And we've got two guests today, Sheila Hatfield, who's a consultant at PSI Metrix, and then Lynne Lee, who works at the Credit Union of Colorado. Now, they've been working together to update the Credit Union of Colorado's digital technology, and they're total software experts. But I want to warn you before you check out and tune out, I promise that this conversation is not going to jump over anybody's head. We're going to explain all of the buzzwords, and we're really going to focus on how your life and your business is going to get easier down the road. So SaaS platforms or service software as a service platforms, that's a real tongue twister. These are things like your website, Canva, Zapier, basically anything that you pay a monthly fee to use that helps run your business. All of these things are getting smarter every single day. And I'm already a really huge fan. They're really cost effective. They're accessible, AKA they're user-friendly, and they create really awesome efficiencies in your business. So they're really perfect for small businesses. And in the work that I do, I kind of tend to take these platforms as they are and like tweak them just a little bit, but not very much. And I do a little coding behind the scenes to tailor them to my clients, but really that's kind of it. Now, Sheila Hatfield, on the other hand, works on complex customizations and integrations. And the functionality that she builds eventually trickles down and becomes your favorite new feature in the platforms that you're using. And then Lynne, on the other hand, is figuring out new ways to integrate all of these things into the day-to-day life within your organization. So I want to welcome both Sheila and Lynne to the show.
Hello. Thank you, Angie.
Hi,
I'm glad to be here today.
ladies. Yeah, it's great to have you. So I'm curious, well, I guess let's start. I'd love to hear and love to share your backgrounds with everybody. So if you wouldn't mind telling us a little bit about yourselves.
Sure, I'll start. I'm Sheila Hatfield. I started out in software engineering, design and architecture. Did that for a couple of decades along with learning to be a manager, leading technical teams, and then moving into leadership and a lot of focus on Agile and integrations. A lot of my career was focused in both data integrations and something called APIs, which I'll talk a little bit more about. I'm currently working with organizations focusing on Agile and integrations, trying to make the right data get to the right place at the right time, bringing value to the organization, to their customers and members in the credit union's case, and doing that in incremental steps so that we're always delivering value. And that's one of the key concepts of Agile. In addition to that, we focus on integrations where many systems need to be connected. We try to minimize the impact of change and make sure that we have something called an adapter in place, like API, and that helps minimize change when it does happen. Recently, at the credit union, we've been working with a platform and integration as a service platform called Boomi, which really is kind of a SaaS platform that lets you drag and drop to connect your systems. So that's a little bit about me. So I'll turn it over to Lynne.
Awesome.
Thank you, Sheila. My career started organically. I worked with Oracle databases, and then I evolved and went into more of a consulting role, and took on very many hats, and from development to business analyst to project management and program management. So I have a very diverse background in technologies, and just recently, last 2 years, I found myself, made myself through to Credit Union of Colorado, which is an amazing organization that is really truly focused on people and the solutions. And the credit union is the fourth largest credit union in Colorado, and we have about 160,000 members with $2 billion in assets.
That's
It's been
amazing.
around. It's been around since the Great Depression, 1934, and originally was the Colorado State Employee Credit Union. We have 17 locations, and my role at the credit union, my team oversees the core banking system. So
Okay.
we delivered um, development work that allows us to ease the functionality and the service to our members through our core banking service applications. And then the other part, excuse me, my team also making sure that the system is up and running, and requests that comes in through our team gets handled.
Okay.
And what started with this journey is that our memberships are growing demographically, as well as our millennials are now make up more than 50% of our membership.
Oh, wow.
It's really, and that brings, as far as the smartphones and everything. So
Yeah.
everybody wants have convenience to their banking services. And so that was our goal, is how do we, since we are members focused and making sure that we bring the greatest value to our members to not only in-person banking, but digital day.
Yeah.
So we were
That's
looking for a
cool.
solution that would allow us to meet our members anytime, any day, be flexible. And that's where we started the journey of looking into technologies and process into helping us to enable to take our banking digitally online.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I think that right there kind of gives a really good illustration of the impact that this technology can have, right? So you're and how other organizations can use it. I think it sounds intimidating, and it sounds like something that a lot of people don't think that they need, but really you're servicing your customers in the best possible way. So that's awesome. Lynn, is your position at the Credit Union of Colorado, is it a new position, or has it been there for a while?
It started about 2 years ago when I came. Our IT director brought in process improvements to the
Hmm.
team, and part of that is the service delivery manager. And my focus is on delivery, focus on our customers, meet our internal customers, making sure that our delivery meets the value and the culture of Credit Union Colorado, which is very members focused.
Hmm.
So it is a new role.
Okay, that's great. Cool. So I think it's really helpful to hear what each of you do, what each of your roles are, and the work that you do. I guess I'm curious if you can give us an example of an integration or a customization that one or both of you or your teams have worked on that help paint a picture for people about what it is that you really do, so that we can really understand it, because it is a little hard with all the tech jargon.
Well, maybe I can go first.
Okay.
So members, that's basically our central part of our business, is um, how do we have a lot of services products within the credit union. We have loans and mortgages and the core banking day. And if you were to bring it on to have a digital online, how do you bring all of that together? We have that your members, the member focus. So we have all the systems, data are scattered throughout the systems. So how do you have that common denominator, that common link to bring all the system that says Lynn is a member, and this is a 360 view at what Lynn does for banking at Credit Union Colorado. So the
Yeah.
challenge right now is for us is how do we create that common denominator? And so what we have a project right now going on is to customize that identity without compromised security. We don't want to use social securities. We don't want to do all of that. That would expose the vulnerability. So we
Mm-hmm.
behind the scene, we're creating what we call the member token, which is a token
Okay.
that is uniquely assigned to Lynne as a member, and then that then can be used as a common denominator that we pull all the data together, and
Okay.
then we would then put the technology on top of that, and you would then able to see what Lynne is doing from
That's
a data
great.
services.
So yeah, so as the alternative to that, so basically what you're doing, if I'm understanding right, is rather than, so if I'm a member, I'm interested in online banking, I'm interested in in-person banking, maybe I have a home loan and a car loan. Basically, without you and the work that you're doing, I would have to have a separate account for my online banking. I'd have to have another account that I log into and set up and create for in-person banking, or maybe not that one, but maybe for my car loan and then for my house loan. So there's a chance that I might have like 4 or 5 separate logins, 4 or 5 separate accounts that I'm managing. And really, is it the work that you're doing is making sure that I'm not managing it, but you guys are kind of managing it for me and taking care of that. So they're all talking to each other.
Yes, that's very
Yeah.
close to
Okay.
that. Yes.
Okay. That's awesome. That's a huge benefit. And you kind of touched on this at the beginning, that that's a huge benefit to the members, right? It makes it so easy, and it's what they're asking for. And so that's really powerful. That's cool. Okay, so ladies, what's the coolest project that you've ever worked on, either in your current roles or previous roles?
So I've had a lot of along my career and being able to work on a lot of cool projects. I had to read back through my resume a little bit to figure out which one I thought was the coolest. But the one that came
Yeah.
to mind for me was so successful that it made the executives nervous. So
Oh my
I used
gosh.
to consult at Sun Microsystems. This was back in the early 2000s. We were consulted to bring in data from many different sources regarding customer sales, customer equipment, and to bring together into one place and integrate it so that we could create an application that would mine this customer data for potential sales opportunities. And we did it in about 6 months. It was globally recognized by Sun for increasing revenue up to 60% from that vertical, because they didn't have to really market to their existing customers. They could just contact them because they were already customers. So they decreased their marketing costs and increased their revenue. And
Wow.
it was really an amazing app. And we, at that time, had it on data technology. It was all web-based and real time. And when it got to the executives, they started taking a look at it, and it would give you a 360 view of all of the existing customers at Sun and what their potential needs might be. So we had algorithms that would it's kind of morphed right now into machine learning and AI, but it was the beginnings of understanding analytics and making sure that we were trying to predict what kinds of things they would need. And the executives took a look at it and went, if you run these reports in real time, you can get a 360 view of all the customers on microsystems, and that could be used for insider trading, and
Oh
we can't
wow.
release it. It's too
Oh,
good. And so they extended our contracts, and we went ahead and added a security and rules and different things so that any one employee could only see a maximum of 5% of the customers at any given time. So you could
okay.
not use the tool to make money off of their stock, which was really
Wow.
fun.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And I think it also, I mean, just what it did is awesome. And I think it's also really cool that it highlights what you're able to do with a lot of these programs. And a lot of it is really about either increasing revenue or saving money. So rather than, and I feel like it's always important to preface this, that I'm not an advocate for not hiring people or for not employing people, but a lot of times these things can take on or take over the role that somebody else was fulfilling. And then and that allows everybody to play bigger. So, you're not letting that person go, or you're not hiring somebody, but you're hiring somebody to do something bigger that can be more impactful to your organization, instead of just like, for lack of a better way to say it, kind of shuffling paper around and doing kind of just lower level things. So it allows everybody to really expand and grow along with your organization. So that's really cool. Okay,
May
so do
I
you
add,
guys, oh yeah,
may I add
please.
something to that effect? So I think
Yeah.
you're right, spot on, because it isn't about replacing people. Because the credit union Colorado, we're people centric,
Mm-hmm.
and so this whole what we're going through is change, but it's not bad change, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's really intentional change
Yeah.
that allows us to focus on what is the needs of our members, of your needs of your customers.
Mm-hmm.
And then strategically, you align your process, your technology, and your people to support that
Mm-hmm.
solution.
Yeah.
And you're right in the sense that because of doing that, we're able to train our employees
Mm-hmm.
and to really kind of shifting from what we would normally manually doing to more of direct impact to your
Mm-hmm.
customers. And
Mm-hmm.
it has, and along the way, we have really tried, and that's a part of why Sheila's in, is we're bringing processes and helping our employees to train them in agile, and all this technology is not something that you would bring a team of consultants in and do.
Sure.
It's very organically. And we take a really thoughtful approach of doing it slowly. We're training our employees along the way so that when Sheila moves on to her next big gig,
Yeah.
we're able to do it ourselves, and we're able to maintain it ourselves and train our employees. So it really is the intention and the process in which you go through the change is equally important as the technology.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome and really, really well said. I think that's so important. Okay, so if we can get to the meat, I guess, of the conversation, what do you guys expect to see coming down the pike for all of these software as a service platforms in the next couple of years?
I think, having started in my career, early on, I think I started in relevancy and context where people were trying to understand behaviors of customers and providing them with relevant content that they would click on and, and essentially increase sales. And I think that has kind of shifted over the years. This was, way back in the early era of internet. And instead, what happened is businesses started to focus on not what the customer wanted, but what they wanted to sell and what things they wanted to promote. And so instead of moving towards kind of a relevancy kind of culture where when you are looking at stuff, you're seeing things that you're interested in, instead they went towards a distraction where, we want to make it more difficult for you to do your job because as the more time you spend on our website, the more clicks we get on our ads, the more views, the more money we make. And I think that's really starting to shift now to where artificial intelligence and bringing all this together is really they're starting to understand that when you provide value, and I think that relevance and value will actually come kind of as a software as a service, that you will be able to, in the next couple of years, start to say, okay, I'm a provider, I want to sign up for this relevancy service so that people who are interested in me will automatically see things that I have to offer.
Okay.
And I think the pandemic has really kind of helped with that. It's already emerged our work and home profiles for a lot of people that are working remotely now. Their activities that they're doing during the day is now merged with what they're doing at night or in the evenings with their families. And I'm already starting to see a little bit of a shift in the data that I'm seeing, like on my social media, for example, is more business related because all of that traffic, the way that they're tracking me is getting merged. And it's fascinating to me because I'm really excited about it. I'm clicking on stuff and saying, oh, this is amazing. I'm interested in artificial intelligence. I'm interested in, digital transformation and automations and integrations. And when I'm on my social media platform, I actually have the time and space to click on that stuff and be interested in it and promote it. And I'm now engaged as a customer. I'm actually helping them promote their stuff to the right audience. I think that's something that is really important, and that especially as we get more distracted at home and all of our lives tend to pile in on the same platform, same space, having the time to focus and actually provide the things that your customers are interested in is going to be really important. And I agree. I think also that employees also should, follow in that space, that, it's just as important for your customers to be engaged as your employees, and allowing those tools that might make their work life easier to be able to automate and integrate stuff. That's going to be super. I mean, it's already focused. There's already a focus on that, but I think it will continue to grow.
Yeah. So do you think the marketing, do you see that improving because businesses are getting smarter about how they're servicing their customers, or is it that the marketing platforms or the marketing tools that we have accessible to us as small businesses, are those changing, and excuse me, are they getting smarter about finding the right people for you?
Yeah, I think a combination of the right tools becoming available where it's easier to integrate and analyze data, so that instead of me having to go to 15 different systems and reports, now I can pull all that data into one place, or look at a tool that may analyze it for me and get those key insights and then act on.
Credit Union, Colorado, we are focusing on cloud computing. So that's something like you used to hear Amazon and Microsoft, is providing their own SaaS solution in storage. So as a small business, you really don't have the bandwidth and the resources to have all these roles to support your infrastructures. So we leverage SaaS quite a bit in cloud computing to take on I would say more of the resource that to take care of servers, network, applications. Then what we do is our employees, we focus on what is impactful to our members versus the other stuff that doesn't really have a direct value, but they are equally important. So that, and by joining the SaaS, we are able to leverage the economy scale, and able to pad to as the cost decreases with greater numbers. So we are able to leverage that, and it has been really impactful for us, because I used to have an employee that would meet IBM there at 2 a.m. to change the outlet, like if the servers go down and all that. And I'm like, that doesn't, our members don't care about that. What they want to care is, can I deposit it direct? Can I do a direct deposit of my check online with COVID-19? So that's what we want to do, is using SaaS to shift our resource in that direction, is to having more of that direct impact. And there are a lot of SaaS applications out there now that they'll have artificial intelligence that is part of the package, part of that machine learning, all that stuff. So if you subscribed to a service, you're able to leverage a lot of that functionality that you would not have if you were to build your own from scratch. So I really think SaaS is going to be a huge player for small business, and as more small business join the SaaS world, I think there will be a lot more applications that would market the small business owners. So it's just time, I think, because right now the big tech tend to kind of lead, and then you start trickling down. And so we credit union, we say, where even though we have a huge asset size, but our employee size is about 350 around there. So we're still in that small business, small to medium. So I think it's very attainable. You just have to look at your I always, because I'm a project manager and program manager, so I think like your roadmap.
Yeah.
Where do you go, and how do you get there, and how do you leverage all these technology out there to get where you need to go?
Mm-hmm.
And starting to look at what's out there and see, okay, how do I implement this into my business?
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. And it sounds like, I mean, there's so many really juicy nuggets in what you just shared, but it seems like it's also getting easier to rely on and to use those services. Whereas I feel like before, when they're just starting out, or when they're just coming into the marketplace and they don't offer as many features, or they're not as smart at knowing what you want, what your customers want, how to really perform best for you. It's almost like you still have to have somebody in your organization that knows enough about it so they can kind of manage it. And it sounds a little bit like you're saying that the level of management that you are responsible for is shifting more to your customer facing things, because you don't have to be as involved. You don't have to fine tune these platforms that are supporting your business as much. So your involvement in them is sort of waning a little bit.
Correct. And you're right. You do have someone to be there to do the planning sort of in the middle. And this is why Sheila worked really well with us, being a small business herself. She has a very diverse skills, from development to architect, all of this. She has such a depth experience. So when we brought her on, we just had a really like general contract, like we just pay you by labor material and we'll just flex and see where we go.
Yeah.
And she's gone in and she's helped us with software selections, training, agile training, development, just coaching. So she wears many hats. So that is, as a small business, you can't afford to hire like a team of consultants, right? That has like, different roles that can bring a big team, and it may be slower, but the value is that by doing it slow, you're learning along the way. So when they leave, you get that knowledge retained. So you're right in a sense, like you do need to have that start out with someone who understands in the middle of everything, and start kind of help you through the process of how you start and where do you land.
Yeah, a translator kind of, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, cool. Well, so we're up against the clock a little bit, but I'm curious if you guys have one thing, one, I guess, recommendation for a company that will allow them to use these services, use these technologies. So I guess one thing that would make them successful in doing that.
So I would really recommend, taking a look at Agile and understanding how you can slice what you're delivering to value. I think, traditionally people build things from the ground up more in layers than in slices, and they work on one part of it till that part's complete, and they work on the next part, and then eventually down the road they have a full-fledged platform or product or service. And instead, what Agile tries to deliver is, you can, instead of trying to build that product or service in layers, you can build it in slices, and those slices help you both to get things done quicker and to be able to pivot, so that if things change, which they always do, that you can focus on completing that one slice, and then you can build another slice. And instead of building out, the analogy that you often hear is that you're building a cake, and if you can deliver a slice instead of 32 buckets of frosting, which may hold you down, and you will have to wait until all the different layers are built before you have a full cake. But if you cut it into slices and deliver that way, I think that that's a huge advantage for both small businesses and large businesses. And small businesses have that advantage already, in the sense that if they start there, they don't have to go through the entire transformation piece and moving that direction. And that's something that applies to technology. It applies to you know, building brick and mortar products or physical products as well. And so that would be my.
Yeah, and so does that look like they're just identifying rather than looking at everything that they could possibly do with something, or how big a project could be, or how grand it could be? Does that mean identifying what's right in front of them? So right now, I realize that it's taking me a long time to draft emails. These are silly examples, but it's taking me a really long time to draft an email. So rather than thinking about all of the things, all of the ways that I could improve that, I just identify that one thing and I find a solution for that one thing. Is that what a slice would be similar to?
Yeah, exactly. So maybe you have an idea for an automation tool on all your emails, but let's say you find one particular kind of email that you send often, that's maybe 50% of the emails that you send, you add that piece first, and you gain that value from the slice and tackle the next.
Okay, cool.
In order to identify that slice, right, you have to look at what your process is. So this whole digital solutions or technology is only as good as the process behind it, like, and the people. So I think it's important for an organizer to recognize, like, what is your process? What is it you want to improve? You want to identify the improvements, and then you can start building that cake, right? So you're building the cake in the state in which you want it, not the state in which you may have a lot of, pain points. You want to remove those first. And I think it's important to focus on the people element, because what you look is in your customers. Like if you're looking in the solution of the customer, it will drive what you need to build, like their needs, what you need to build. But then also in the element of them, your employees. So you have to evaluate like where you want to go, what skill sets you need to able to support where the skills and the training. A lot of that is really the vulnerability of people, right? Because change brings a lot of vulnerability, fear, all of that into the factor. So you, as an organization, you have to think through that and figure out how do you help your employee go through the change as you're moving more into automations.
That's great. Yeah, that's really important. And I think that, that is kind of like a humanistic and a scientific approach to it in a lot of ways, because if you're implementing something and you don't address those things, if it doesn't work, you don't know why, because you've got all of these other factors that, or I guess not all of these other factors, but you have a lot of factors playing into the success or the inability to succeed with it. And so I think that's so key, because there still are people involved. Even if it's an automation, there are still people involved in the work that goes into that automation, or the output of that automation or something. And so you definitely have to, I think that's a really important point. So thank you. Cool. Okay, well, Lynne and Sheila, I want to thank you so much for being here today. It was super fun to hear about what you do and to hear about how what you do is going to influence all of our lives soon. So I appreciate that, and it was really great to have you both.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah,
Yes, thank you. It was really fun.
Cool. Thanks, ladies.